back on the bitch. Alright. This is what you get when you buy cheap parts. This is why I don't do cheap parts on customers' cars. This is my car, so I figured I'd experiment to see what would happen. Not thinking that it would be so hard to get this engine back in and out and everything. I already got this, I already got that loose. The only thing I have to do is loosen that sprocket, zippy tie it together, I suppose. Alright, I got the tool in here, right where it needs to be. The reason there was some slack on there was because this tensioner wasn't all the way out. But I got it locked down. This side was in. When I checked it on the oscilloscope and everything, it was in. So I'm basing this side off of that side. I'm going to take that back fixture off and put it up here just to check the timing again. And I'm going to start taking the head bolts out. I am just unable to catch a break. Nice, huh? It's like Hercules put these on. So I took the cam out to try to get a little better access. That didn't really help me too much. But this is literally the last thing I need to do to get the head off. Ah, sigh. Heavy sigh. I'm gonna have to pull this motor just because it's one bolt. Stopped asking. I stopped asking. It worked. I win. F you. I didn't see anything weird. Like, obviously weird. I didn't see anything obviously weird. Right? Come over here. You see that it actually hit all of them. And this is the exhaust valve. Alright? I'll come over here. This is a pretty ghetto test here, but it kind of does the point. Right? Nothing coming through. This is the intake. Right? Nothing. Nothing. Okay. The middle one is cylinder number 2. Switching hands. Alright, so exhaust. Nothing, right? But watch this one. So that valve is bent. Probably going to replace all the exhaust valves because those all hit. Oh yeah. I'll turn this down a little. Alright, using Grandpa's old square. You can see it's tipped out that way. And if I rotate it, you can see how it's tipping in. Oh, shit. I don't want to damage my bent valve. Look at that. It's actually easier to see when I put in here. Nice, huh? You can see the chuck's nice and steady. It's all wobbly. Awesome. Well, that's good news. Here's an intake valve. Nice and true. I'm still going to pull the other ones. Back on the pig. Alright, I got all the valves are lapped. And it's hard to pick up. Nice and lapped. I lapped these ones just to, since I had it out, I didn't really need it, but gave it a little bit of a lap. And I'm about to start putting the valves back in, and then once I get the valves in, I'm going to clean the deck, because I don't want to get any of that shit trapped in there. So I'm cleaning up now a little bit of the insides of it, and then I'll worry about the top. This tool that I bought specifically for this, so you can take the keepers out and the rockers off, but it also does the valves. For me to make it work though, I had to basically bolt the head down, and this goes here in between a lobe, and on this piece here those go on there, and it pushes down. You got to use that. So I kept doing it, and the whole thing was like falling over because, you know, leverage. So then I had to put grease on my fingertip and put the keeper in from the backside. Head's ready to go on. Nice and clean. Some new valves. Pistons are nice and clean. Everything's clean. Head gasket's on. Head's on. I need to get these for the injectors. They're like a hard rubber. I probably threw the here like this, and they all fell apart. I gotta figure out how to get these out. You can see how that one's nice and cleanish. That one's still got broken pieces of rubber in there. All I got to do is put the gear on that side, get those out, and once I get that gear on, I can put the rockers back in, and then it's basically done. All right, this is back together. Crank it over. Injector fuse is out. Sounds good. Come on, pressure. There's my pressure. Okay. Put my fuel injection fuse back in. Fingers crossed. Cycle the key a couple times. Fingers crossed. Oh, she's running. She's smooth. Oh, I'm a happy camper. All right, shut it down, check the oil. It's running pretty good. I don't know if you can see the fuel trims. It's like -1 for like the long term, and short term is like pretty close to 0. The only thing I didn't like, can't see it right now because I'm driving obviously, but the idle was at about 30%. The IAC valve was about 30%, which seemed a little high to me. Even after I let it run for 15 minutes, idle it seems a little bit high, going off of the percentage there. So maybe I'll have to look into that further, but as for now, this thing runs pretty good. It's nice and smooth. Doesn't have that stumble anymore that it used to have with the bad chain. It doesn't have that timing chain noise because it didn't have a timing chain guide on the back side. It was just riding on a friggin' bolt. You know, a metal bolt was the timing chain guide. But that's it for now. It came to a stop. Long timer's up there a little bit. Looks like fuel trim is it's right around 1 to 0 positive, so total is probably like a 7, so it's still pretty good. Injectors are probably, you know, whatever. But the idle came down slightly. No problems. It runs really smooth. I know I do have some vacuum leaks on this. I have the throttle body shaft and the EGR. Seems to be okay, but that mass airflow is a little high. I don't know if that's going to be an issue. Another thing, I used some like pretty old gas to top this off when I was trying to diagnose why it was messed up after I put the engine back in. So that was like my lawnmower gas. I put in probably 3 or 4 gallons of some old gas. Maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not exactly sure. Otherwise it's running pretty good, no pinging or nothing. I did replace the knock sensor as well because that thing was basically destroyed. Alright, I'm almost home. Fuel trims on bank 1 are getting worse. They were up to 11, minus 11. I totally forgot that this thing did have a ridge condition on the bank 1, and I kind of figured it was because of the broken timing chain guide. So now, I mean, right now I'm just going to let it go for a little bit until the check engine light comes on. But what I think might be happening is maybe I have an injector issue. I'm going to clean the mass airflow sensor now, just because it looks like it's over-reporting by a little bit, but over-reporting mass airflow sensor would affect both, not just the one. Looking in here, of course it's not focusing. It doesn't look dirty to me. A little bit of dirt on that left resistor. I'm going to clean it just because I have it out. Mass airflow appears to be over-reporting a little bit, so we'll see. Cleaned it up. Does look better, but I'm not convinced that that was what's going on. But didn't cost me anything. See what happens. See if anything changes. There was tiniest little bit of dirt on that mass airflow sensor resistor, but I highly doubt that was the issue. Let this thing stabilize a little bit. Still reading a little high. Let this idle for a minute. I don't like that trim. I'm suspecting injector issues or an issue. Little scare here while charging it. I was charging it, filling it with the liquid on the low side, and then all of a sudden the engine just locked up. So I was like, oh shit. I went to start it up, it wouldn't start again. Then I realized I ran out of gas. I had to go get some gas. Runs perfectly fine. Dumbass. Alright, let's talk about what has happened here with this car. My car, this is my vehicle. At first I was thinking maybe it was the chain set that I purchased, because I went cheap. Don't ever do that. So far so good. I don't know how long it's going to last. When you're going to pull the motor out, put the OEM stuff or high quality stuff. I put some questionable stuff in there, but my thought was, well, this cheap kit just blew up on me, and so I'm gonna have to pull the motor again. Getting the engine out of this was actually pretty easy. It was putting it back in. Now I'm in my driveway, and I have pretty big incline on my driveway. So it's not that easy doing engines in my driveway, but I get them done. However, when I noticed that the crank had spun 90 degrees, I was baffled. I had no idea what happened here. After I got the heads off and I put the new valves in, putting it back together, I realized what happened. My theory is it's 100% my fault. I did in fact have it in time, but in the instructions, the procedure, it says to use this special tool. I'll try to throw a picture of it up there. And when you use the special tool, it basically, you have where you would normally, where the bolt is here, that's where you'd put your socket. Well, it extends it. I don't know how far, but the tool's pretty long, 4 or 5 inches maybe. So the torque spec was 45 foot-pounds using that tool. I had the engine out, so I didn't use the tool because I had perfect access to it. My thought was that tool is specifically made for when it's in the vehicle. I think that was my mistake. So what had happened was, once I started it up and it had compression, it wasn't tight enough. I tightened it to 45 foot-pounds, but I didn't use the special tool, so the torque was not multiplied. So the cam gear spun, and it having reverse threads actually tightened itself back up. But at that point, it was too late. So, lesson learned. Pay attention to procedures, and we'll see if I have to learn another lesson with that timing chain set. I paid $350 for this truck, so I was willing to take the chance on the timing set. See what happens. For a customer's car, I wouldn't even think about it. It's not worth it at all to even gamble like that. Had this been a customer's car, I would have used the good, I would have used Motorcraft parts. And had I done this to a customer's car, I would have been eating that head gasket and all that stuff. It would have all been me. But yeah, pay attention to your procedures.